You should know that when we use certain letters or symbols in algebra, they're merely standing in for a number which we may not yet know the value of. For example, the rule here for working out a taxi fare in pounds may be 0.5m plus 4, where m stands for the number of miles travelled. And as it is, you couldn't put this into your calculator. For a start, you couldn't type a letter in, and you couldn't work it out either since you don't know the value of m. But all this changes if someone tells us the value of m. When this happens, we can use a process called substitution, and we replace the letter with the value we know it represents. It's always good practice to use brackets whenever you make a substitution so that it's clear what's happened. And that's all there is to it. Usually once you've made your substitution, you'll be asked to evaluate or solve the equation. But don't try to do substitution and evaluation in one step. They're separate skills, and there's more chance you'll make a mistake if you try to do them both together. Use the following step-by-step method, and you'll be on strong foundations for more difficult problems later on. So here's an example. Step 1, replace any letter that you know the value of with brackets. So we know the value of C and we know the value of D. Step 2, insert the known values into the bracket. Step 3, evaluate using a calculator if it's a calculator paper, or BIDMAS if it's a non-calculator paper. Here's another equation, and although it looks more complicated, it's no more difficult. Step 1, replace any letter that you know the value of with brackets, where we know the value of U, A and B. You can see in this example that it's the letter and only the letter that we can remove. If there were any number in front of the letter, underneath the letter, above the letter, we can't do anything about that. It's only the letter that we're allowed to remove. Step 2, insert the known values into the brackets. And finally, step 3, evaluate using a calculator, or if it's a non-calculator paper, you'll have to use BIDMAS using pen and paper. Now, step 3 is often actually the part that's more difficult. Substitution is quite easy. You're just replacing the letter with these brackets and then putting in the value. But this is a little bit more difficult. You've got to understand indices here, and you've got to understand BIDMAS. Now here we have minus 2 squared, which is the same as minus 2 times minus 2. I certainly know it's going to be a 4, but because it's a minus and a minus, they're like signs, so that will give us a plus 4. Again, here we've got to know a little bit of algebra. Two numbers next to each other, well, we multiply. So 5 times minus 3. Again, I certainly know that the value is going to be 15, and it's a positive multiplied by a negative. These are unlike signs, and unlike signs, it's a negative. And so this leaves me with minus 11.